Hey everyone, Jim Jacobs back here again in his organic soybean field, or what we're hoping is going to be an organic soybean field. Right now it's mostly organic thistles and organic lamb's quarter, but can't get a premium for them, so we're hanging off. It's been so wet. Wanted to take a few minutes here and shoot a video of the cover crop trials. Not much of a trial, but just figured I'd get some experience with it this spring. With the wet weather we've had, it's not a really fair trial because it's June 19th now. We're about 3 weeks behind my normal planting window for soybeans, but we're going to take a look at some of the oats that we planted, also some of the oat Austrian winter pea mix, and then just a few minutes ago I actually tried to roll some of the oats down with Old Brilliant Cultipacker. I was pretty happy with the success. I'm going to show you all of that here in a minute, but going to also later in this video have some clips of the Cultipacker running. So here we go. So I've actually stepped behind the camera now because I want to be able to take a look at some of the different aspects on this cover crop. Now we did a couple trials here in this field. It's about an 18-acre field that last year was in corn, going to soybeans, of course, this year. And before the corn last year, we had to really combat the thistle problem. It's a field that's had a consistent Canadian thistle problem for years. It's actually why this farm has always been called Thistledown Farms, even when my great-grandparents had it. And so we're looking at different options to combat those Canadian thistles, because I would say that is going to be my main long-term weed pressure. And so this piece here on the right, you can see, was rolled down. There's some of it standing back up. Here in a couple days, I'd like to take a quick look at it and just see how that responded. If it was crimped enough by the Cultipacker, or if something like one of those V cover crop rollers is something that we're going to want on the farm. But I'm excited with the oats that we have this year. It's just a forage oat, but you can really see there is no weed pressure coming. I'm very excited about that from the standpoint of with as late as it is, lots of fields are being overrun by everything from the Canadian thistle to giant ragweed, lamb's quarter. And you'll see that here in a second in some of the space that we didn't do this trial. And with that, this field was disked once last fall, just to start incorporating some corn stalks, getting those breaking down. But you can see we got some lamb's quarter out here, quite a bit of grass, and some velvet leaf. It was mowed just maybe a week ago with a disc mower, so that we could keep the Canadian thistles from going to seed. But really, overall, not much Canadian thistle pressure, which is just baffling, because last year, like I said, it was massive pressure. It took 3 trips over with a disc and field cultivator to be ready to plant corn. So back to the actual rolling that we just did. Like I mentioned, some of it's standing back up. Considering it's a Cultipacker that we've had on the farm, I had no added expense in using it. Actually, it's the first time in a few years it's been out, so it was kind of nice to get the bearings going. But looking here, again, really no weed pressure, which is definitely an exciting thing, giving me the hope that maybe in the coming years we can do something along the lines of some no-till organic soybeans. Even if we can't pull that off, I think the benefits of the cover crops are very noticeable. From soil health standpoint, you don't have to be a soil scientist to understand that something good, healthy, green growing is going to help the whole environment. So, gonna walk over and show you one more spot. So now here in this other spot, it's some that we just rolled, just like the other spot we were just in. Rolled it about 15 minutes ago, but this was actually rolled on an angle to the oat rows. They were drilled on 7.5-inch rows here earlier this spring. Not terribly early, probably the 1st of April. So pretty good growth in 6 weeks, but rolling on an angle, I'm optimistic, might help cover up the in-row weed situation when we plant those soybeans. One thing that scares me about the no-till organic is not necessarily killing weeds between the 30-inch rows on soybeans, but rather right in the row. And so maybe rolling this on an angle is a way to combat that. Maybe if anyone else has some experience with that, be excited to get some comments or someone give me a call. That'd be cool. But one last comparison between this that has some Austrian winter peas mixed in with it, and then here in a second we'll see some straight oats. And now here in this third spot, like I mentioned, this is straight oats as compared to those other couple areas that were an oat and Austrian winter pea mix. I think if I tried this again, I'd probably try both, but I'm more optimistic about the straight oats. Just seems to be a little denser. I couldn't tell you why. Maybe someone else could share that. But then also seems to be a little taller. And they're 100 feet apart and planted the same time, and I'm not real sure why that is, but that seems to be accomplishing my main goal of getting a lot of biomass to suppress weeds. So with this space, seems like we're getting about the same kind of kill on the oats. Again, we're going to do a quick video here in a couple days just to see how everything responded, but this is what we're coming up with, and I'm pretty excited about it. So as we wrap this one up, some of you might be thinking, okay, why oats? Why not cereal ryegrass, which seems to be a little more of a go-to, a little taller, more biomass? And the reason is because I am a proud member of the Black Swamp. And not that I live in a swamp right now, but my neighborhood in Northwest Ohio is a very wet area. We have some fairly sandy grounds. If you look over my left shoulder, you could even see Campbell Soup's production facility. They're here because of the vegetable production. But it's a wet, cold fall usually, and getting cereal ryegrass established is very hard. So the thought was that usually there's a couple mornings in the spring where you can get out while the ground is still crisp, shoot across it, sow some oats, and get that going year in and year out. That's the thought behind the oats. If anyone wanted to give me a couple other ideas ahead of soybeans and even ahead of corn on cover crops to grow, I'd be pretty excited to hear about those. But now we're going to go into just a couple of videos on the call to packer running. And with that, I'm going to see you all sometime soon. Thank you.